And I would think that would be the biggest mistake they could possibly make, is to let him go. He has such a great feel for not only the talent, but the sequence and the matches and how they should be laid out. They keep losing some talent, and hopefully they won't lose Triple H.
Yeah, so we were going to talk about this a little bit. According to Jonathan Coachman, a former WWE personality and ESPN anchor, used to be on SportsCenter quite a bit. He's been doing a lot more pro wrestling related things, and he had an interview with the two-man power trip of wrestling. Shout out to John Paz and Lavi Margolin, who I like a lot. But they happened to talk to Coachman. This is from Sports Illustrated, the take that they gave on this article. Coachman opened up on why he thinks there could be a falling out between Triple H and The Rock. So this is Coachman talking right here. And he said, and from my time there, in my time with The Rock, I know for a fact that he does not get along with Triple H. That does not go away. They've always been butting heads for years and years for a lot of different reasons. And then Coachman added that he talked to two people close to the situation with really good intel who share his prognostication that within 18 months, Triple H will not be running WWE anymore. So Coachman also added that he feels bad for Triple H. I actually kind of feel bad for him because I've always really, really liked him. But look at what happened at WrestleMania. He gets inducted in the Hall of Fame for the third time, an hour and 37-minute speech and 1 a.m. You're overscheduling the entire week. There's nothing free for fans to go to. And then at WrestleMania, you're going to disrespect Bret Hart and Stone Cold, Steve Austin, walk them out there with everybody else. You give a wave to the crowd, and you get your own water music entrance right next to those guys. So that latter part seemed to be more of a coach's perspective or opinion on things. But I don't know. So, Greg, I mean, during the Attitude Era, it's always competitive. It was really competitive. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, you had The Rock, you had Mankind, you had Triple H, and obviously Triple H and Stone Cold were really Triple H and The Rock were really competing for that spot at the time. That goes with wrestling. It's the competitive nature of it all.
Just the way it is, yeah.
Like, I could certainly see some butting of heads from that standpoint, and I could see some butting of heads creatively. Ultimately, though, what I'd love to see is a good collaboration between the two, because I said this when I think Triple H started taking over, and then The Rock became on the board of directors. I was like, it's good that you have Triple H there being like the guy that orchestrates a thing, but then you have a failsafe in The Rock on the board of directors being like, who has a wrestling knowledge to be like, bam, we're going to preserve the legacy of wrestling and help out what makes wrestling good, and not have almost like a Disney takeover and like dilute what pro wrestling is all about. But what are your thoughts on all this, Greg?
Well, when you were talking there, I was really listening closely and thinking about it. And I've been thinking all week, because it came up on my phone, that Triple H may be out.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think that would be the biggest mistake they could possibly make, is to let him go. He has such a great feel for not only the talent, but the sequence and the matches and how they should be laid out. We're with AWA, and this is what I learned from my father. You can't hot shot it, is what they used to call it, with all these matches, because eventually it burns it out. And they've done a good job now by going to only their pay-per-views is where you're going to see those big matches. And you have to have somebody that really knows the business and the talent to lay that out right. You just can't have somebody from the outside come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do with wrestling, and this is the way we're going to do it. Because if they don't have the knowledge and the background of what the sport and how the people see it, they can't do a real good job. And I haven't been around The Rock enough to know his philosophies and what he thinks. It could be maybe they're clashing with ideas or something between the two of them. I'm not sure. I don't want to speculate on that, because they're two of the, greatest talents that ever came along in the sport. And I'm a little miffed I was really miffed at that whoever is calling that shot, if it's the people that now own TKO and they want somebody else to run it, they're making a huge, huge mistake.
Greg, I'm with you because I mean, Triple H, he's such a student of the game, and he's like the well-rounded guy, really fit for the position. People can have their criticisms or say what they want, but when it comes down to it all, you look at the background that he had, being trained by Killer Kowalski, having appreciation for talents like Harley Race and stuff like that, and a history of the business and in tune with that. He's a passionate student of the game, and this has been his focus. And you also think about who he's interacted and worked with. I mean, Vince McMahon obviously has his flaws and everything like that, but he was able to promote WWE and wrestling in a different light that was more spectacle and sports entertainment value to it all. But at the same time, too, Triple H knows the ins and outs of the business, the goods and the bads. He knows how to kind of angle certain things, like being a part of the clique and stuff like that, and getting knowledge from like a guy like Kevin Nash or Scott Hall or certain things like that. So I think him bringing all that knowledge, expertise, passion, and dedication to what it is, it would be a huge loss for WWE.
Huge.
A massive loss. And if you're to appoint somebody else in there, I don't think you could necessarily find a better person to fit that bill more than Triple H. Like, it isn't. And I think people are being critical of him when it comes to how people maybe are potentially being booked, releases going on. So, like, we'll talk about R-Truth here in a little bit, but him getting released, Carlito getting released, some other talents being underutilized potentially. Heck, you cannot please everybody in the grand scheme of WWE or in a promotion that you do. You're going to upset people. It's just going to happen.
It's going to happen. It happened all the time.
It's going to happen, And
and you got to look at it. How long have those guys been on TV?
Right.
What more can you do with them? You either have to give them a break and get them out of there for a year or two, and then you can maybe bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it is, I mean, you're seeing a lot of matches that are really you've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe not the match itself, maybe a little twist to it, but the same talent meeting the same talent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to really be careful of. You can throw it at the people only so long, and pretty soon, that those top people don't get the response they were getting before because they've run through everybody and they've done everything. So you really need somebody at the helm that can make those decisions and lay it out right. And that's what, I had the chance to work with with Triple H when he was first starting. And it was just a short time I was with him down in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He was only there about 2 weeks with me. But what I really noticed about him is he listened. He never talked much. He listened. And whoever you were talking to and what you were telling them, he would listen to it. And, he probably learned that from Killer Kowalski, just listen, and, I didn't like him down there as Hemsley.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me. And I didn't feel like that was his real personality.
Mm-hmm.
And, when he went up to WWE, he started like that. But once his real personality caught on, I mean, he was money in the bank.
No doubt.
And he's a good guy on top of it. People like to work for him. And
that's it.
That's really important. Can't let the egos get in the way in that business or you won't survive. That's
it. I mean, so there's so many different comparisons you can kind of make too. I mean, look at history. History repeats itself. Like if you're going to, egos have destroyed a lot of different things. We were talking about a couple weeks ago, I think it was, like, all the promoters trying to get together and protecting their own guy, but having this super show to go up against Vince McMahon. And it just didn't work out because of egos getting in the way.
Egos got in the way. They needed to have one person that really had the background of how when wrestling first started on TV.
Right.
Some of these other guys, the Crockett's were great, but they got good bookers in there. They had Dusty in there. Mm-hmm. And Dusty was, he's got a great mind for the business and could run it for them. But everybody wanted their talent to look the best. and didn't think about the overall picture of it.
Right.
And where you can take, okay, let's take a Kerry Von Erich. Let's put him with our AWA champion. Let's go here, here, and here with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we'll take this guy, we'll take Ric Flair from Charlotte, and we'll take this guy from there. And somebody from Florida got Orndorff, bring him in. But, you know, I mean, Bill Watts was so excited. He loved Paul Orndorff, and we wanted to get him on board, but we couldn't, you know, we couldn't.
Yeah.
And because the ego's got in the way.
Right.
You know? And that's the hard thing. And that's what they have to watch out for here with the WWE.
You know, Greg, so I made the comparison on a different show that I do too. So I work at Whole Foods. It's like my shoe job. Work at Whole Foods.
I
started there in 2017. And so, well, I started there in 2016. Well, 2017 is when Amazon bought Whole Foods. And so when I worked at Whole Foods before that, it was a very communal, a very like family oriented, friendly and customer friendly. And, you know, a lot of unique stuff about each individual store. It felt like a store had its identity, so to speak. And when Amazon bought it, I was like, people were really worried. They're like, oh, it's going to change everything. Everything's going to change. And I was like, nah, we'll be all right. It'll still be the same. Like, we'll still have the same vibe. I think I wasn't too worried. Well, but the beneficial part was, hey, we all got a raise, and it was life-changing, like, for the time. For me. It was like, oh my God, all right, this is great, you know? And so that was awesome. But so much of the identity got washed away of what Whole Foods was about, and like what I liked about it in certain aspects. But like, if you take a step back and you look at the grand scheme of it all, it's making money. But you're also losing some goodwill with customers, I think, at the same time too. So we talked about that with yesterday. And I think a lot of people, or maybe there's this identity or thought process, especially by the social media hive, that this is Triple H's doing, or Triple H is really controlling. And I think obviously he has control of the creative aspect of everything. But I don't think a lot of the onus of what should go down is on him. Like, he's running a business and is the head honcho of WWE's operations when it comes to things, maybe making the final decisions about being released. But ultimately, there's a lot of different elements coming into play that is not necessarily beholden to him, I would say, at the same time. Do you agree with that, or do you think
without a doubt. You know, Vern used to bring in about 5 or 6 wrestlers when we were doing the booking.
Right.
And he would always listen from ideas from everybody. But then he had the final say and put everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Triple H he's got that group surrounding him.